3, 2, 1.
今夜もミュージック君へのラッキー笑い合って抱き合って幸せにほらなれるように
Alright.
Hello, welcome to the Trash Taste Podcast.
God damn it. I was about to say hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weeb Club, but you know what? You just made it 10 times worse. You know? Like...
We make podcasts for ourselves
Alright,
and other
shut
anitubers.
Did you know that
Well-
Scamboli, he's a good, unique, and, you know,
Oh my god,
anituber
alright,
who's
you know what?
Scamboli
Hey everyone,
really
welcome to
defines
the
his
Weeb
own
Club,
actually good,
where
his
we
own
try...
code and
He
his
must have
own
done
style
something
that no one
in
else
order to be
does.
popular. Yeah, exactly. No one else
Where
must
we
have done
try
what he did
not to
get-
argue with people, we just want to exist, we don't want to cause fights. Welcome to the Weeb Club.
We don't want
Uh,
to cause fights, but I hate these fucking anitubers
Summer
who circle jerk
2020.
and make videos only for each other. It's fucking gross.
Summer 2020, week 2. We watched episode
What a
3
bunch
of
of
God of
fucking
High
cunts,
School
man.
and ReZero and Oregairu, as well as episode 2 of Rent a Girlfriend. Those are the shows we watched. We should talk about comments. I mean, do y'all want to talk about the Trash Taste stuff on this, or
We can later.
What do you mean by... Okay, well,
We'll do the comments first. We'll do the comments first.
Okay, we'll do the
right?
comments first.
Just know, that you got guys later on will talk about it, and after you talk about the comments, so stay around, you know, So this Wednesday, oh no, we're gonna talk about the seasonal first because
Seasonal first.
yeah, because the seasonal ones are like whatever, but the oh man, the EWV's comments are something else.
I like this one by Madtrax, The Return of the Comments and Reddit Podcast, plus some anime or whatever.
Well,
Which is funny because
we'll
I don't
get to
know if
that.
we can do like the thing on YouTube where you have like the sections. I think you have to be a partner to do that because I know I can't do that on my channel. Where you have like the sections that timestamps. But if you did that, it was literally like at 36 minutes we started talking about God of High School. 55 minutes we started talking about ReZero. And then, like, we talked about ReZero and Oregairu for an hour, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, 2 shows took us an hour to talk about because
Well,
they were
ReZero was like most, like, because Oregairu was like 20 minutes. I'm looking at time code now, and ReZero,
It was almost 30 minutes.
No,
exactly.
it was. Yeah, it was basically. So basically, yeah, it was the Comments and ReZero podcast featuring others.
Which it's about to be again. Let's fucking go!
Basically.
It's kind of crazy. ReZero is the best show of the year. It's kind of fucking crazy. My top 3 Vindy moments are when he said he wanted to suck Legosi toes, when he said squeak squeak, when he fell from chair on stream, when he said they were watching 3 shows but it was actually 4. Those are my 3 favorite Vindy moments.
You know?
Well, we are watching 3 shows, but we're also watching 4 shows. We're also
We're watching 3 shows and something that I don't know if I can count as a show. It's
We're watching
bad.
3 shows and garbage.
Oh yeah, Hobart. Well, he says, "Oh, I wasn't talking about subjectivity. It's okay. I didn't read the comment. I was memeing about the idea and stuff.
Yeah,
I
you
just thought about."
Yeah.
boy. Toxic. I like this
I
reply
should say,
too.
I also didn't read the comment. I was also just like, I read like the first line and started like talking about it as if I read the rest of it.
I followed up with that, and so it wasn't about your comment. Don't worry.
Yeah, we weren't shitting on you. It was like
I mean, if we read it, we might have shit on you, but we didn't. So don't worry.
yeah.
Um,
Don't worry yet.
Hey, you know, there's this comment from this like shitty podcast that says our name is not BSA2, it is Weeb Club 2. Therefore, we can't be the BSA2, despite it being more similar to the BSA than Weeb Club.
You know who would leave that comment? You know who would have left a comment like that?
Oh, who?
The BSA.
Well, the BSA fan club replies with, "You're both inferior to us because we had the decency to stop making videos and cease the torture of innocence." I wonder who left that one. Oh, so there's a person named Lunar Gem who's left a lot of like small brain comments, which I want to shit on all of them because they're all kind of bad. They're all kind of bad and not good. Like he only left one, which is Craftsdwarf is canceled. That's the only good one. But then other than that, so this first one he left on the seasonal was Craftsdwarf doesn't understand art is subjective. What's the best color, Craftsdwarf? Who decides what's objectively better? You can make objective observations,
Where
but
did
it
you
tells
see
you
that?
nothing of its quality.
Oh, I
it's
see.
on. Yeah. Lunar Gem left a lot of very small brain comments.
Yeah, no, that's like not understanding what,
I don't
like, yeah, because that's
it's
what
also
I said.
fitting
I
because of the
said,
JoJo Part 3
I was
Part 3
saying,
profile
I don't know what
picture.
else I'd expect from a Jotaro Abby.
yeah, no, like that's what I totally said. I said you could objectively decide things are better than others, and when I was really just memeing about exactly, yeah, art is subjective. It's not real, you just like, it's just feelings, like, Naruto doesn't exist. His existence is only subjective. He doesn't exist.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't
feel
know, what
like
is
I'm
he talking
fucking
about? Like,
he's
what art is,
talking
like,
about boo-hoo, stop
I
it.
guess you can't
don't understand what
objectively
you're talking
prove
about.
art. Like, we don't have museums of art. It's not something that exists. Those museums are probably not real either. It's all subjective.
You're right.
I'm sorry.
I can't prove it's real. That's just your opinion, I see like a woolly mammoth exhibit. I go, that's not there. It's not there. I don't think it's there. That's just my opinion, though.
I'm so confused.
The
Don't worry,
Pro-
Vindy. That's just all in your subjective little head, so.
Okay,
Well,
cool.
The Kage.
It's not little though.
Speaking of subjectivity, the Kage Pro comments, "Can I be the one who falls out of their chair on stream?"
I don't know who did that. What did
I don't
you
know.
do? Dude, did you? Okay, so here's the thing. Let's be honest with myself and others. I fell out of my chair on stream again like a month ago, and nobody clipped it because it was the second time I'd done it. And then on stream, like earlier this week, I almost fell out of my chair and didn't. And I almost lost it because I saved it. Because like the problem is, I need to like reach over to do something, and I get really lazy, and I'm like, I could scoot my chair another inch, or I could just keep leaning. And so then I start leaning my chair, and then it almost tips over. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna die. And then I do.
What?
I like this comment from Rinru. He says, I'm so glad that I follow the seasonals. Although he put an apostrophe there when there doesn't need to be, you fucking mongoloid. With you three, because I probably would never have watched ReZero or Oregairu and seen how fucking kino these shows are.
Nice.
Which is true, because if you haven't seen either of them, actually watch them, because not only are season 1 of ReZero and 1 and 2 of Oregairu Kino, but seasons 2 of ReZero and 3 of Oregairu are fucking so good right now. It's insane.
It's just
Easily
like
2 of the best shows of this year.
here's the thing. I'm very scared that I might give one of these shows a 10 out of 10 by the end of the season.
Dude, like, I honestly expect them both to be in my top 5 of the year.
Also, can you guys read my comment real quick and the replies to it?
No.
You
Moving
should
on
do
to
it
the
real quick.
EWB.
Just do it real quick. Just do it real quick.
WattheWut says, I hate this podcast. The Kage Pro 24 says, then watch Weeb Club 2. WattheWut says, I don't hate this podcast that much. Which is funny. There's one more comment I wanted to go through because I don't understand it. Where Syed Samir said, Vindy being a masochist is the biggest takeaway I got in this video, and honestly probably explains his relationship with What more clearly. Guy probably enjoys it every time What or Crafts and Soul.
Hey, dirty little slut! Shut the fuck up with your nasty
I'm
sounding
sorry?
fucking voice and your dirty ass breath.
I'm sorry?
You stinky fucking whore.
I don't know if I would call myself a masochist. I don't know where you would get that idea. I don't know what I said. I actually, I read that and I was so good. I was like, where the fuck in the episode did I say I was a masochist? Because I'm not. And I'm still confused about it, so I'd like some explanation.
Okay, yeah, okay. You're into cock and ball torture.
I never
However,
said that. You said that
I'm
about
gonna rewind
me.
for a second. Beep beep. Rewind. We're gonna go back to the Cross Ange episode because someone left a comment. Cross Ange is a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Craftsdwarf is just being contrarian. You know.
Alright, now I gotta go look who fucking left this fucking comment. You motherfucker. Oh. Catboy Romeo. I'm sorry. What? I wanna sit here and be like, you're right. I don't think I can respect a man named Catboy Romeo.
Shut the fuck up, furry.
What? His name is Catboy Romeo.
And you're a rat, so I don't want to fucking hear it.
Yeah, but he hates cats. Duh.
They eat rats.
So
and
we're
they
gonna
call
move on-
me the racist.
So we're moving on to the EWB. This time we talked about Shonen Discourse.
Not ready for this one.
And that video is probably one of the worst we've had on the EWB. I actually want to talk about this. By the end of the year, I kind of wanted to do a thing where we rank every single video we've covered on EWB.
But
at the end
ranking AnyTube is the problem with AnyTube. No other community.
You think I
want to
be the? You know what, Vindy? I'm gonna be the fucking solution. Okay. I'm gonna be the genetic
The
fucking
final
solution.
solution. You're just gonna genocide all of AnyTube.
This is Monster now. I'm Johan. I'm Hitler too.
Oh my god! All right, well,
Hitler
all right,
2,
so,
the better one.
I would agree that this was the second worst video I've seen for an EWB. The worst going to the
Nisekoi,
Nisekoi video. But I mean, you know, it was bad, and thankfully,
I don't know. I mean, I at least see it and say, hey, you know, why does anyone care about this abused child?
I'm sorry?
Harry.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, but here's the problem. And I'm actually going to be honest, I can't hate that video so much because knowing the person who made that video, I'm like, you know what? That's probably the best video they could have made. Like, not even, like, that might sound mean.
And
but
yeah, this one, and there's a difference
That's just
between that one
accurate.
that has, like, you know, he unlisted it, and this one that has over 800,000 views.
Well, I just don't think that man, if he tried, which he didn't in that video, if he tried, I don't know how much better a video he could have made. You know?
Sad.
Well, there's a lot of sad things about it that aren't what I just said. All right.
No drip, no sauce, no passion, no comedy, no male gaze, no function in relationships, no shonen before Dragon Ball.
Give it up, everybody. There was no Dragon Ball vintage shonen.
I love that Doc continues these because
Guitar Skater had one too. It says no personal stakes.
That one's good too.
I think I might like the no personal stakes more than no shonen before Dragon Ball.
Actually,
Yeah.
Because they can't get too long, right? Like, if you notice the dot one, it's like no drip, which is one word, no saw, or after the no, it's one word, one word, one word, one word, two words, two words,
it's
and now
evolving.
4 words.
It's word escalation, Vindy.
I don't want it to get longer every time, okay?
It's a word
escalation.
Shut up.
Vindy
Shut
hates
up.
the word
Are
escalation
you
problem.
implying this is the comments problem?
Yeah, I will.
Or
If
you're
you
gonna make
leave
a
a
whole
comment
ass
more than
video
10
about it?
words,
And you're gonna say the fucking like the BSA
Are you
invented
challenging-
comments. There were
hold
no
on,
comments
hold on,
before the
hold on.
BSA. That's what you're gonna
Are
say
you
in this
challenging me, the man who made an hour-long video watching anime TikToks, to make a fucking shit video? Because I'll
video. Oh
fucking...
yeah, that's right.
I'll make another
You got on Digest, dude. You are above me.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I clearly will just make whatever.
You know what? Craftsdwarf makes a funny epic Hunter x Hunter video, doesn't get on. Fuck that bitch. Ninmanji makes a funny video of Hiromashima. Fuck that bitch. You don't matter. WattheWut makes a video about ReZero. Fuck that bitch. You don't matter. TikTok?
All right. Well, you know what? I believe someone has Google Alert set up for their names, so let's not push that anymore.
Dude,
Lunar
wait,
Jim,
you can do that? You can do that?
yeah, that's
that
like
really
a
a
common
thing?
thing. Is setting up. I meant to tell you this the other day. There's a thing where you can set up like a Google Alert, so you get a notification on your phone anytime, basically on any website your name is mentioned. And so I believe there are people in AAT who probably have that set up, but I'm not gonna talk about it. Lunar Jim said, and the reason I want to bring up this comment is because I actually responded to it. And there's a couple others that
Yeah, I want to talk about those other ones because Lunar Gems is really being a Jotaro profile picture right now.
Well, there were a few comments that I felt like I had to respond to before the EWB because I was just so like, so I want to explain something really quickly and then I'll explain it a couple other times. Like, look, I understand that there are times where a discussion is going to be more complicated than the way I make it seem on an EWB or on a Weeb Club podcast or maybe even in a video sometimes. I get that. But a lot of times I'm making it very black and white because I only have the EWB was already 2 hours essentially. What was
Under
it?
2
Was
hours.
almost 2 hours. It was 2 hours.
Under 2 hours.
If I had gone more in depth into all sorts of things, it would have been even longer. So yes, I have to make things more concise because that's the concession I have to make for the podcast. But that doesn't mean that I see it that black and white, right? Like I'm not that fucking stupid.
Nah, Vindy, you see it that black and white. You always do. There's no room
Lunar
for
Jim left a comment where he said, an antagonist doesn't have to be stronger than the main character to be a threat. You don't have to have power escalation for an action series to be great. Power escalation is neutral from a conventional perspective. It doesn't make it better or worse. It's the execution that's important. And I said,
Wow.
well, obviously it's a more complex discussion than that, but I think there's a point to be made that for series where problems are generally settled by bouts of strength, which is what I would call an action series, it's important for the villains to get stronger with the protagonists. It's not inherently good or bad one way or the other, but that's the point. It's not inherently good or bad one way or the other. And I stand by that, but I also think, like, again, if it's an action series, you can't have villains that are weaker in every way. And yes, there are different ways to be stronger. Someone also left a comment that was like, oh, well, here's this arc where the villain is smarter than the antagonist or whatever. That still means they're stronger in some way if they're smarter enough to make up for the lack of strength.
Right, the antagonist has to offer some sort of conflict, and in an action series, that's usually going to be strength. Like, it's not that hard. What I was going to add on to that is, like, the reason that we're talking about it is because there is this broad opinion that power escalation bad. In shonen specifically, and nothing else, even not Gurren Lagann, and that's what we were like, arguing against because that's what the video posits. So
something I want to kind of point out that's really interesting is that people, especially like in the Western side, don't really understand like a lot of things about like. So for example, like the Japanese like idea of tatakai, like you can watch like Pause and Select's video on it on Isekai or whatever, but like he points this out. That the Japanese idea behind tatakai or like fight honor strength isn't inherently physical strength. It's just a term that means get stronger in general. So like for most series, for example, Dragon Ball, you'll find moments where Goku, in order to defeat an opponent, they can't beat them by just getting stronger than him in terms of strength. He has to be smarter than him and think around him.
Or like there has to be some kind of like, you know, character development or like personal growth that ties in with the strength, or that's how they get stronger. You know, like with Naruto is a good example because in order to master the Cupid powers, he had to overcome his hatred. Like that's a personal thing he had to overcome to get stronger. Like, yeah.
So like for example, right? Yakai, whatever the fuck this is.
Oh my god, are you gonna talk about the comment that pissed me off?
It's like, I think for a power escalation problem, for 9 out of 10 cases, you're right, the action, the power, and the stakes need to rise. But sometimes you get things like the school festival arc in My Hero Academia, and of course, the brain dead always comes with My Hero Academia. But in MHA, with an antagonist, Gentle, that is clearly weaker than the last one, Overhaul. But it stays good because the personal investment we have with Deku and his journey, and many things is in parentheses, and it's just and many things. That's kind of epic. So, here's the thing, young man. In the Overhaul arc, Deku still was going to lose, but was only able to fight not because of just his own efforts, but because he fought alongside Eddie.
Did he have Eddie in the school festival?
He was fighting 2 people at once, Vindy.
So wow, so it's almost like Deku was still at a disadvantage and still almost lost in the Gentle arc, even though he won in the Overhaul arc. It's almost like there's more at play than, Overhaul was stronger than Gentle, so that means Deku should be able to beat Gentle straight up.
So let's look at it like this. In the Overhaul arc, there was an infinite amount of time that could be happening. It was really a battle of attrition, right? A battle of who was going to win by the end. There was no time limit in the Overhaul arc. By comparison, not only was Deku facing an opponent who was super skilled, Deku was alone. Deku was caught off guard, while Gentle kind of had a plan, and Gentle also had La Brava, who gave him a power up that made him able to fight Deku.
Physically stronger than Deku, yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. It wasn't just about beating Gentle. It was more keeping him away from the school. Like Gentle didn't have to beat Deku to quote unquote win. He just had to get to school and fuck things up like he wanted to.
And there's also a time limit. So there's way more things that are like that Deku has to technically fight against when fighting against Gentle than he did when fighting Overhaul. Just factually speaking. Now, if your brain is tiny and you only think men have bigger muscle than the other guy, well then, I'm sorry, dude.
Well,
I don't know what to tell you.
I think it even goes deeper than that, because you can also look at like the Gentle arc as an inverse of the Overhaul arc, because whereas Deku was weaker than Overhaul, but worked with someone else who made him stronger to beat Overhaul, Gentle was weaker than Deku. He lost to Deku in a 1v1, but then because he used La Brava's power Now Jinta was the one who was potentially going to win, and Deku had to overcome what he just himself had done previously, you know? And my problem with bringing up this as an example is, like, sure, he doesn't even say that, like, we're necessarily wrong in the terms of the video, but what he's saying, if you really look at it in the context of the story, does not apply to any of the points that power escalation was brought up as a problem in the shonen anime video, right? Like, the idea of, like the Jinto arc works because it has these other things. First of all, you don't need to have those other things to have a good arc, and it's not bad if you don't have extra things. For example, the school festival arc is kind of this, it's the closing arc to the overhaul arc, right? It kind of wraps up some of the ideas of the overhaul arc. And sure, it's great, but it doesn't stand on its own as an arc the same way that the overhaul or the current arc in the manga do. You know, it's very much like kind of latches on. It's like the little fish on the bigger shark, right? The big shark is the overhaul arc, and the little fish is the school festival arc, where the school festival arc is like the wrap up to everything that happens in the overhaul arc. It's not really its own major thing. It's why it's not as long as the overhaul arc, because the overhaul arc is more important to the story.
Now, Vindy, here's the thing. We have to remember that the commenter used My Hero Academia as a point, and 9 times out of 10, ever using My Hero Academia as a point is going to be followed by Brain Dead. So I don't even know why it was like worth addressing that.
Well, you know what? That's true.
However, speaking of Brain Dead and JoJo profile pictures, if Tite Kubo had to fight the 7 Heavenly Kings and lost both his arms, so he had to draw using his mouth, and it came out as squiggly lines, that wouldn't excuse Bleach from having squiggly lines as criticism.
I don't even know what he's talking about, honestly.
Because we talked about Kubo's health issues, which wasn't the point of us bringing up the health issues, because it's like the manga was fucking canceled. The actual issues with the end of Bleach are relatively minor, honestly, and I also got a little frustrated because these can easily apply to Togashi, and in fact, he does get a lot of discussion for his art when he's been having serious back problems since the year I was born. So, because there was a tweet going around being like, man, manga authors should be more honest. Fuck that guy. That arc was shit. I'm gonna do better. And people railed on that guy, and he was maybe joking, but, just the whole, manga authors deeply respect each other because they know that the fucking work they do is hard, and I think some dick suck who's just leaving a fucking shitty YouTube comment should shut the fuck up. Because
Craftsdwarf, let me ask you a question.
I love
Let me ask you a
Craftsdwarf.
question.
He's so funny.
Who do you think works harder? A mangaka who's in an industry that punishes you for making manga, or a fucking prepubescent little bitch who sucks his own cock with a JoJo profile picture?
He's acting like, oh, but I should have the right to critique. Well, look, 90% of all fucking internet critique is just inherently dog shit because literally no one knows what the fuck they're talking
Yes!
about. So, what basis do you, what reason,
shit.
where are you coming from that, oh, you're high and mighty, you're going to critique this, you have the great, fuck off, basically. I'm mad, God, I guess. Holy shit. I don't remember being this bad even on the EWB.
Craftsdwarf's in top form today. I love it. Oh my god, wait.
Craftsdwarf's fucking going in. I love it. Well,
Mad Tracks. Wait, hold on. Can I just say this was so funny? Mad Tracks fucking leaves this comment, and where did it fucking go? It's so fucking funny. Where'd it go? I gotta find it again. Here we go. The Plague of Grites video must be the Shira Torizawa of bad Anitude videos, because he gotta devote a whole ass season to it.
There have been multiple people that are talking about the Plague of Grites Vindy stream, where you watch it on stream. And you know what? Here's the promise I'll make. What day is it? It's July 23rd. You know what? The Plague of Gripes stream will happen by the end of the month. Oh. I'll finish Naruto this month.
Okay, I thought we were going to do it as a sub-reward or something, or did we already hit that?
You could also do it as a sub-reward for
because
Vindy
people
himself.
People want me to do it. Well, oh my god. Okay, you know what? You're fine. We'll do it as a sub-reward on my YouTube. I'm at 462 subscribers right now.
If you guys get Vindy to 500
if
subscribers...
I hit 500 subscribers...
we'll do an EWB stream on the Plague of Gripes Naruto video.
But only if Vindy gets 500 subscribers. If you do not get him there, it's not happening. Alright? Get him to 500 subscribers.
Okay. Also, I love this comment where Ronan is, important question, what is the free space on the bingo? Gara versus Rock Lee or X is the deconstruction? This is difficult. And also Dragon Ball was the first shonen. This is a difficult one.
I would say Gara versus Rock Lee.
Yeah, no, that's the very, because Naruto is such a big thing. And so
And that's what, like, every Naruto video we've watched has mentioned that.
Yeah.
Guys, you know what my
I was gonna say, I love all... Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, you're gonna talk about all the ones where they're talking about the arcs. That's what I was.
The ones where they're talking about arc names. Like, I love the Burrow one. Where it's like, I love the Save Rukia arc. One of my favorite shonen arcs. After the Sabotage Sanji's and Pudding's wedding arc, or an Escape Totland arc.
There's also
Stop Madara from enacting the infinite Tsukuyomi of the entire world arc.
So there's also Raphael Racine's The Hunt Bug arc is pretty good, but I think I prefer the Save Gone 2016 presidential election arc more for its smaller and more personal narrative.
Does that mean that Leorio's Hillary since he lost?
What?
Oh wait, no. Where's another one? There's another one. Oh man. The Save Ruki arc is not nearly as good as the Save Orihime arc or even the Save Uryu arc.
Yeah.
I love all the people making jokes about the
Vindy.
like the art names because it's so funny.
Have you read the Pretend to be a Visual Novel arc in Boku?
Oh my. That's good.
Okay, I have two more comments personally I want to talk about, and I'm gonna lump them together. Well, yeah, because I think they're both another example of it. One of them was Ronan111 said people actually do level 1 critical modes of runs of Kingdom Hearts. So that's not the best example. I already responded, but no, it's still a good example because the average person isn't supposed to be a fucking lunatic who does a level 1 run of the game, right? Like the point of the game is that you level up and get stronger as you fight enemies. And sure, there's a level of variable difficulty where you can stop leveling up at any time and use that difficulty throughout the entire game. But just because people can do it doesn't mean that that's how it's supposed to work. So that's already someone saying that an example I said was wrong. Another one is Lunar Jim said Dr. Stone is cheating for high school. No, because my point was that it's about high school aged people. And Dr. Stone, most of the characters are high school aged.
Yeah, and it was even, we talked about that, but yeah. On the discussions, I was about to reiterate what I was trying to say, but yeah, never mind.
Well, because I feel like you even mentioned that one's kind of meh, and I said yeah, but what matters is that they're high school age.
Well, because high school age and taking place in high school is like a different discussion. But yeah, we'll put a pin in that. I say, but was that the last one, or are we ready to move on to?
Does anyone else have?
The Reddit.
There's only one thing on the Reddit, but
there's one Reddit post, but it's very fucking good.
Oh my god. I haven't seen this.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, no, that's not true. Look, it's
I love hearing Craftsdwarf read through it and be like, "Oh, this is kind of funny," and then get to him and fucking die.
Okay, so I'm gonna read the title, then you guys read each of your individual parts. The Weeb Club when there aren't any Reddit posts and good comments.
We won't have content.
No. I have to try and actually be entertaining.
Well, at least I don't have to edit in pictures.
Alright, that's it. Thank you guys for coming to the Weeb Club.
Except fuck you, Dot. Imagining I have to try to be entertaining, bitch. This shit comes naturally to me.
Yeah, it's not like we're on the Weeb Club 2 or anything where we're like, we have like 7 people who aren't even that entertaining.
Imagine having more people than the Weeb Club and also more downtime. Couldn't be fucking me.
Unlucky, I think.
All right, let's finally get on to the speed bump on the way to talking about re-fucking Zero. Play the fucking OP.
The dog shit I gotta step on in order to get to the good shit, right? Like, Jesus Christ.
Look.
Play the OP.
I hate this show. I hate every part about it, dude.
Please, Vindy, tell me what happened in this episode right now. Tell me how you describe it how you described this to me earlier.
Described it to you earlier? Okay. So, I guess, they let main boy go home, and he decided to eat the Korea Nomi, and so he passed out on his floor and started bleeding from his mouth. And then the other 2 people fought and won, and both fights were terrible. Like, there was Sword Girl who fought Wrestling Girl and just won, even though I don't need sword to be strong. Me use hands. Cha! And then she fucking, killed her or something. And then Punch Boy fights Bat Boy, and he's like, look at how cool I am. Me stab with my metal fucking bat. And then Punch Guy punches the bat in half and wins, and that was terrible. And then the man who ate the fucking Korea no Mi just comes back out of nowhere.
And then the show
it's
turns
like,
into JoJo Part 3.
he just walks up, pushes the man down, and takes his glass off. And they're like, you fucking won. I'm sorry?
God.
Okay, so I'm gonna be Mr. What the What talks about his martial arts knowledge again.
What, you don't recognize the kendo art of not using a fucking sword?
Okay, so...
What, you
here's the
don't
thing.
know
Just
about...
like-
no, look,
just like
when the
I
guy
didn't
summoned
recognize
his
the type-
stand, that is called, like, Loishin Kangradi Fu.
Okay.
That's what it's called. What, you haven't heard of this? You fucking...
Okay.
You don't know shit about martial arts.
Naruto, you were about to say Naruto.
No, it wasn't. I was like, well, I actually stumbled because I was like, Amon is actually like a fictional martial arts style that's in JoJo, but I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
my-
no, that confuses my joke.
You know, I was about to say, my favorite martial art is the Ora.
My favorite martial art is Taekwondo because it allows me to use fucking black magic. But only if I use North Korea Taekwondo.
Beyblade, let her rip!
Which is something... Look, I want to go off about this because I didn't realize this originally. When they were talking about the northern style of Taekwondo, they gave you spooky black magic. They're just talking about North Korea. It's literally them saying South Korea is better than North Korea. This guy from North Korea has spooky black magic in his Taekwondo, and he's bad.
I
But
went to my
South
homie
Korea
Kim
boy,
Jong-un and
who
learned the
uses
Kim Jong-
who uses good South Korean Taekwondo is
Damn
stronger
it,
and better
the North
than
Koreans
North Koreans.
didn't warn us about stands.
Like, what?
Okay, so let me get into my little thing. We're gonna break this down one by one. Now, I don't know if it's a surprise to anybody, but pro wrestling, as it is, as you see on TV, and whenever people talk about quote unquote pro wrestling, this isn't a surprise to anybody, and this isn't a knock to pro wrestling as a whole. It's not real.
Well,
it might have
right.
techniques that can be used because they are, still techniques, but it's not
Right.
real. These
Well, like,
people
some
that
things...
Well,
some
okay.
things you see in the MMA, right? Like, you'll see some of the submission holds they do
Well, because-
actually carried out in the
right.
MMA because, again, they are techniques, yeah.
Yeah, so the techniques can be real, but there's a reason they're not commonly used because they're
Right.
not practical. And here's the thing, and you'll hear this from a bunch of people who talk shit about WWE, is that most people who do pro wrestling have never been in a fight in their lives because they're actors. Prominently, they're actors and they're athletes, but they're not really martial artists or fighters. There's
They're
exceptions.
performers, not martial artists, yeah.
So it's always funny, right? Because there's some, like, in some media it works. Like with fucking Kenichi, we have the character who's the pro wrestler, but they're using the techniques and they're going by the whole meme of like they're over exaggerating the effectiveness of the martial art. And there are some cases where it does work, but notice how even people like Brock Lesnar, who has succeeded in the MMA, doesn't use WWE techniques. Like, doesn't
Right.
use pro wrestling moves.
And
because
even when he
it's
came back to, even to go deeper into it, when he came back to the WWE, he incorporated more striking and more MMA moves into his actual wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Because, that's like a part of it. And like, just to kind of piggyback on your point, when I look at other pro wrestling, like, examples in media, I think of two main examples personally, and it's the pro wrestler in King and Ashura, and then King in Tekken. And Tekken's a fucking video game, so that doesn't matter, right? He just, like, King exists to look cool. And in King and Ashura, the entire point with the pro wrestler, because there's an entire match that's pro wrestling versus sumo wrestling, right? Whereas a sumo wrestler going up against a pro wrestler. And the entire point is that the pro wrestler does not shy away from attacks, because in pro wrestling, the audience gets upset if you, like, dodge something. So his entire point as, like, a fighter in this manga is that he takes whatever hit you give him and can get up afterwards, right? Which is a great way to describe what pro wrestling is. Which is like, sure, these guys may not be great martial artists, but they will fucking get up no matter how much pain they're in, because that's their job, right? Is to take this pain, internalize it, and continue to perform or continue to fight. And that's a good example of that.
So
this show was
okay.
not.
Here's the thing.
Well-
Go ahead, Craftsdwarf. Go ahead, because
I don't know. Well, I was gonna say I kind of disagree. Well, but I'll explain. Well, go ahead. What? So go ahead. What?
What I was gonna say was the pro wrestling chick in this show so far is the only martial art represented that's actually closely accurate to what it is.
Oh, that's funny. Well, what I was gonna say though is I don't think I have a problem with like what is like, pro wrestling is not like a real thing, but I don't have a problem with it being presented in fiction as real, because like in Tiger Mask or Kinnikuman, like I don't have that issue inherently. So, and then like, I don't know, I guess within the show, like, it's, if you are one of those people who somehow doesn't know that wrestling isn't real, and then you see it in this show as if it were a real martial art, then like, I guess that furthers the illusion that wrestling is real. But I don't know. I understand your thing with like, you know, them not really respecting the actual martial arts and not just coming up with fictional martial arts. Like that I kind of get, but I guess I don't quite understand what the issue is with the wrestling.
No, my thing right now, right, is that like, so far this show has like, has treated every single martial art, and the only one that it accurately, even closely accurately represents is the one that's very obviously not real, and that's kind of insane to me.
I mean, and that kind of makes sense because, well, like, that's, and well, they're like, because pro wrestling it's like a fictional martial art that's presented as not that, so I guess it kind of makes sense that you have this fictional martial art that with a bunch of other fictional martial arts, but the difference is that pro wrestling we understand to be fictional, and the others are supposed to be real things, but aren't being presented that way.
I think another way to describe what What's saying is that, like, because like I've been getting really into wrestling recently. I was watching the pro wrestling girl, and I could name all the moves she was doing. Right, she was doing like a German suplex and then an elbow drop, and she was doing like wrestling moves. And no one else is actually doing the martial art that they say they're doing. They say that they do kendo or taekwondo, but they're not actually doing that, right? It's just animating a fight scene.
This entire time, she's the only one who's actually doing the thing she says she's doing, and it's like,
right,
of all of them, this one. It doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, but then we got stupid Kendo Girl, and I'm like, you have a weapon. You have the stupid thing that we spent an entire episode talking about, your dumb wooden sword, and then you lose it within seconds of this fight.
And you don't get mad, like the previous time her sword got lost, and she was super tilted about it and mad. This time she's like, I don't need my sword to fight. I'm gonna cut you with my hand.
I'm gonna fucking actually have an aneurysm, because then she turns into the main character from Katana Gatari, and is like, with her karate chops and shit, like, this is the actual kendo form, hand swordless, and I'm like, wow, this is the fucking boxing martial art form, armless, I'm gonna bash my face into you, like, what the fuck does that mean?
Well, I see how this might have been fine if it, like, because, you know, like, there's a whole, like, the spiritualism aspect, the sword is an extension of the body, like, I've even come up with the idea of, like, a no sword style that it's an unarmed style that just cuts, like, I could see stuff that works cool in, like, a superpower thing, which this is, but it's just weird that it is really weird that it's just attaching itself to these actually real martial arts in this way. I don't know.
Because, like, okay,
when it's obviously
disrespectful to real martial arts, I think.
Here's the thing, right? Katana Gatari already did this well. You see the dude, even though he's pretending his hands are swords, if you look at his form, he's still doing the form of a kendo of like a kendo fighter, right? His hands are still placed as if he's holding a katana. The only difference is now his body is the katana, right? That's the only difference. Mm-hmm. This bitch swings her arms like she's fucking like releasing like a spiritual, like a spirit blade attack, like releasing the Getsuga Tensho with their arms or some shit. And I'm like, what do you mean? What the fuck do you mean?
Also, it was funny because the fight started where it's like, wow, I guess different cultures have different ideas of beauty, and I'm like, yeah, they're both hideous.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. This wrestling
girl is the hottest girl we've seen.
I mean,
yeah,
but that's not a high bar.
Well,
she's the only one who they like actually made hot somewhat. So it's like,
which,
for the show.
You know what? Again, realistic to pro wrestling.
Like, it's just so funny to me that the only one, literally the only martial art being represented accurately is pro wrestling, and I do not understand it.
Also, real quick, the fuckface, the third main character, Gray, music, you know, the third guy who's the main character who also doesn't matter, unlike the actual main character. What fighting style does he use again?
He uses karate. He's
okay, so he's a Korean who uses Japanese karate, but names his attacks after Chinese cardinal beasts.
Yes. Makes sense to me, Craftsdwarf. I think you're just stupid. I think you're just
I
stupid,
just thought that was
Craftsdwarf.
funny, and I thought the fight was bad, and I didn't like
okay,
it.
I'm about to have a goddamn aneurysm about Glasses Kid with a metal bat. I'm gonna fucking lose my mind.
Dude, he beat his theory and his violence. What are you talking about?
Vindy,
Dude,
the
he
man
beat
is a
his...
nerd. Look, here's the thing. The idea behind martial arts is that your body is, like, built to the point where you can handle that shit. So I'm watching this nerd-ass nerd with a baseball bat reading a book, and he's like, I read book, and book tell me how to beat you. That doesn't mean your body can handle it. Just because you know the theory of how to beat someone doesn't mean your body can handle it. Now,
I think the idea was he was going to dodge everything because he knew about it, but then he didn't, so it was like, well, fuck.
Like, his, like, 72 stabs with the baseball bat. And I'm like, do you have the physical force to hit someone with the 72 stabs with the baseball bat? Like, maybe, but, like, it's like, there's other stories that do this kind of thing where the main character kind of, like, does that, but they use, like, technique, or, like, they use, like, so there's a character in Kenichi whose martial art is entirely built off of, like, their own self-training.
Right.
So it's like they just trained to themselves. But the point is they're physically fit enough to be able to do such a thing, right? So they're fighting martial arts with their own natural talent is the thing. So it's not like, I read the book and the book tell me how to beat you because I read the book. Look at a book, it beat you. I use funny baseball bat. And I'm like, I'm gonna, like, have a fucking aneurysm because it's just so stupid.
What, have you read Kengan Ashura?
I've not read Kengan Ashura.
I'm really curious what you think of it. I just look. It's 27 volumes, so it's just too long for us to pick.
I'll read it eventually, but like
because it also is something that is very much talks about. Like there's a lot of this, like, different kinds of fighting styles and stuff, and it is a little bit more wilder. But I'd be really curious what you think about it as compared to God of High School. Because they're kind of similar in the fact that, like, there's a tournament setting and there's a bunch of different fighters use a bunch of different martial arts. But whereas, like, I would say Kengan Ashura handles it really well and is a manga I like a lot.
The difference between all of these, right? There's Baki, there's Hajime no Ippo, there's Kenichi, there's Teppu. All of these were written by people who you can tell have understanding of what the martial art does. God of High School is written by funny Korean man to say Korea man used the Korea no Mi to defeat all of the enemies using the power of JoJo stands. Like, I'm gonna fucking die. It's just so stupid. The man he's like, this impact hit
so
all
I
of your
really
organs.
so you get the girls fight and it's like, okay, and then you get the guys fight and then you see Jin on the line on the ground there. I'm like, okay, the episode's over, it was split into two fights. No, Jin's fight was just so fast, they just squeezed it in at the end there, and I'm like, and then it was like, look, I get it. He's an overpowered protagonist. He's also, like, when he was fucking, I want to fight the blonde guy, I actually was like, can you just die? I hate you. Like, you are one of the most unlikable shits I've, like, had the displeasure of seeing recently.
You don't like Taichi from Digimon?
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Look, that's literally what his character design
Except
is.
he's right.
Like, it's literally just him, and it makes me even more angry. Because it's just him. Like, I hate this. I really fucking can't stand this shit. And every episode makes me hate it more. Why is this show about JoJo stands now? Why is this show about personas?
I mean, look, the show, it established, like, with the fucking high five, like, that this was gonna get stupid, but yeah, it basing itself around martial arts is, like, why even bother? Just use fictional martial arts. Just...
Yeah. It's really
why
dumb.
do that? Look, there's a very clear reason why Craftsdwarf it's about martial arts. Can you guess why?
Well, no. I think it's fine.
Why? What? Tell me what.
Oh, well,
with
yeah.
your big brain.
The power of Korea is the strongest in the world.
Look, I think it's actually fine, again, to use real martial arts, but I think you have to be respectful about it. And the fact that, like, so even though I've taken Taekwondo and I've done Taekwondo and made it far belt-wise, it was so long ago that, like, I don't have a great memory of the moves, right? Like, I remember, like, some of the motions, but, but, like, I don't think, I don't remember being taught to jump up and start kicking people in midair with a flurry of kicks, You
didn't learn the northern style of Taekwondo. You didn't go to Kim
I didn't learn
house.
to float in midair. And I think that, like, that in and of itself is part of what makes it, like, if it's fine to use real martial arts, but if you're going to exaggerate them, I think there's a level at which, like, you can get away with it. And then when you also have it be that your country's specific martial art, specifically the southern version of your South country, is the stronger, more correct, more, good version of that martial art, I think it's very, like...
Let's put it this way, right? Kenichi is a story about the main character, Kenichi, only becoming strong when he unifies all of the martial arts into one ultimate form of martial art that he uses, because if he realizes that all martial arts have their own way of fighting and like all of them have good things to take from them, but he has to become a master of all of them.
Right.
We have Baki, where the main character learns about a bunch of different martial arts and becomes the ultimate fighter because he learns the principles behind all of the martial arts. And then we have funny God of Highschool. Korea give me spin power. I eat the Korea fruit and it give me Korea powers.
All right, let's fucking move on. We're gonna be talking about the same shit for fucking like 50 weeks.
Show.
So
I hate it. Can we? Are we talking about good? Are we gonna? Is it time?
Let's talk about one of the best single episodes we've seen on the.
Wait, no, wait! I have one more thing to say about fucking God of Highschool. Hold on. I want to yell at people on your server who I actually love and I think are sexy, but they're stupid.
What are they saying right now?
So no, this wasn't right now. This was the day that the episode went up. And Dan was talking about how the ears are art style, not them pretending to have gotten it from martial arts. And they say some real dumb shit. I don't even like God of Highschool, but this was like the first Naruto Nin show. The ears in God of Highschool, I wouldn't even say are particularly bad, although they do have that Tumblr nose. Here's my problem with God of Highschool's art. I actually would say that it's ugly. Like, I would say that their ears are ugly and distracting. And I haven't, like, I watched episode 3 of God of Highschool with people who hadn't seen any other episode, right? Like, I was just in Discord, I was like, I'm gonna watch God of Highschool, and I just turned it on and, like, streamed it to them. And the first thing they mentioned are the noses and the ears, because they look fucking terrible, right? And I think that, like, either way, whether or not there's a reason in universe for people to look bad, it does not matter when it's ugly. You should
Unless
not
it's
have...
ugly on purpose, but it obviously isn't. Like, these are supposed to be, like, what, they call the girl cute, and I'll go, maybe if you fucking fix the nose and ears, like...
Right.
There's just something about her general like character design that's just
like,
not appealing.
The character designs don't look good, so I can't sit here and be like, yeah, I respect it, because I don't think they look good at all. So
did you actually hear anyone trying to justify it with cauliflower ears? Like, where did you?
No.
Okay.
No, you guys said cauliflower ears, and that's why I said, like, even if it was that, that's just not accurate.
Okay, I didn't know that was a thing. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that was a thing, but I didn't.
Yeah,
think
no.
that
You
was...
said you guys were saying cauliflower ears, and I was like, even if it is justified by that, that doesn't make any sense factually. Right. Like, that's what I was saying.
I understand that. I just wanted to mention that because I think that, like, even if it was cauliflower ears, right, or whatever, or even if it wasn't cauliflower ears, they still look ugly, and I still think that makes it bad.
Okay. Can we talk about ReZero now?
Yeah, I would love to. I want nothing more than to talk about ReZero now.
All right, play the fucking OP.
Minutes.
Play the goat.
This is gonna be the longest. This will be the longest seasonal season of the Weeb Club, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we're already at an hour, and we have 3 shows still to talk about. We didn't even talk about Trash Taste.
I don't care. Who cares? They're trash. Anyway.
We'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
So, I gotta start off with this. So, Subaru gets in, drinks the tea. She's like, that was made of my body fluids.
Me.
Subaru drank her pee. 10 out of 10.
Subaru drank her pee and didn't give a fuck, dude.
He was like, you know what, you're not. He said, you're not
like,
Amelia.
You're not Amelia. He's like, I drank your pee. I know you want to fuck me. I'm out. Goodbye. And just,
what a
she's
fucking hero.
she's like, my favorite part is she's like, not many people are gonna just talk to me. Like, more people are more excited. He's like, dog, I'll talk to you after I deal with Amelia, but she's more
like,
important
no,
to me.
Please don't leave.
See ya. And she's like, please, I'll take my clothes off. She's like,
I didn't think it would. I thought it was funny, but then I got aroused. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Right now. Anyway. And she's like getting undressed. He's like, where's Amelia? Goodbye.
What a fucking hero, man. Man's like,
what a giga fucking chat.
So anyway,
right.
I want to say, because, now that we got that away, and now people who are like, I want to just hear them talk about ReZero. Why are they talking about a kid in his pee?
Which I would drink, by the way. She's really cute.
Oh,
when she was like, she was like bouncing all around. I was like, oh my god, you're
No,
cute.
and then when she got all awkward when he was just leaving, and she's like, "Wait, hold on, no, what?" And like she was caught off guard, and it's cute because normally she was all like before she was like a hottie and confident, and then
and then she was
yes,
she's
I love
good.
that. But this episode did not feel like it was 25 minutes long, and it was all episode. There was no
more.
OP or AD. No, I felt like a two-parter. I was like, there was a lot. I was satisfied. Like,
Well, I still want more. No, I want more.
As a single episode, I was like, was this really just one episode? Like, we got a bunch of lore dumps with the other witches. That was fucking cool.
There was a lot of stuff, and okay, I don't even know what to talk about first, but I think okay, here's what I want to mention first, because I DM'd this to y'all at some point when I was thinking about ReZero and how much I love it. So like, and this is the thing I want to mention on the podcast. So, like, the first witch we've seen named in terms of the cardinal sins for the season is the Witch of Greed, right?
Yes.
And we know that she's going to be Echidna's going to be very important to the Sanctuary arc because this is her death place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we already talked about how great it was when Subaru and Amelia were talking about how selfish they were being with their desires. You know, they were talking about like, oh, they're only going for themselves, which is greed, right? And it was even further pushed in this episode where, we saw like the people of the town asked Amelia, and she's like, well, this is just what I want. And then they said, don't think selfishly of us, but this is what we want. And sure, it was about Kino, Raga, Swag friendship, but that was more people being selfish with what they ultimately wanted, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that like that is what this entire arc, if you want to look at it as in a larger sense, even Subaru and Amelia overcoming these cardinal sins that they have, right? Like next is their selfishness. And what I think is really interesting is this idea that like Subaru can do the sanctuary trials with Amelia. And generally, Amelia would say no to Subaru, right? She wouldn't want his help because she wants to chase her own selfish desires. And selfishly, she wants to do it all on her own, right? She wants to take all of the burden on herself. She doesn't like asking people for help. But I think what this arc is going to be about, and why I was losing my shit watching this episode, is this idea of throughout this season, we're going to have to see Amelia kind of recognize that she's not strong enough to handle this on her own. And she's going to need to rely on Subaru and rely on, because he can do the trials with her. And so I imagine they'll probably both die at some point, and like eventually,
yeah, because he'll probably try and do it alone because he's very much like her. Like that was established very early on. So
and so this idea that like eventually what's going to happen is they're going to have to overcome this trial together and get over the idea of being selfish and work together. And I think that that's what this is going to be about, and it's going to be so fucking good to see it happen. I actually can't wait.
I also like that moment with Amelia, talking to townspeople and stuff. Because it also ties back to sort of her overcoming the trial of sloth because of Subaru, where she had this it's like she tried to rally the town before and she got spurned, and she didn't try to like persist because she kind of had accepted that people would hate her because of who she is. Like she was slothful and wouldn't change, but Subaru forced it, and now she like has changed. She's come around to the idea that and so that's why she was able to talk to them and stuff. So she's already grown, but then it's already tying into that's I didn't notice that. I was more thinking about like the older stuff. But yeah, no, it's going forward too.
Yeah, that's why like I'm so excited now because like I'm seeing it, and now that because like I think when I was watching season 1 of ReZero, when I rewatched I was paying attention, but I was on a rewatch. When I first watched it, I wasn't expecting everything to tie into that idea of sloth and laziness. But now that I know that the core sin is greed, I'm paying attention to what is every time that someone's being selfish or looking out for their own desires.
Yeah, no. Well, even I had that too, like especially when Subaru was really pissed off after he got killed by Betel, and he wanted he was trying to get help, and he was really pissed off. And there was, I think, Krush was asking him why are you why so mad, bro? And I was thinking, oh, this might be tying into a Wrath arc later, now it's like a whole framing device. And I think the witches also help because now we kind of see oh, this is an example of this sin, because the sins are weird because they have their definitions, but some especially lust. Not lust, greed, and gluttony, they're all surrounding desire. So how they get divided kind of depends on the writer. So there's always like a kind of like area you're waiting to see how it's framed before you actually go like, okay, this is what they're going with, since you know they're already pretty close. So
and I think itself it's like worth it to say at this point, 3 episodes in, that very much this idea of greed is going to tie into selfishness and thinking that you deserve everything.
Yes, and that helped me because like I had a write up on the white whale stuff but I was only reading gluttony into it. But then the first episode attached greed to the white whale, which they didn't do because they called him a beast of gluttony. But then both gluttony and greed were like, oh, that's our beast. And then that, which also ties into like with Wilhelm and the sword saint girl, who you know, there's selfishness in him not admitting his love to her, and he came to regret that. So now I have that framing. So that helped me frame that better, basically, like retroactively, which. This is real well written shit. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really good, and like there's even
What were you gonna say? What?
Did you catch that little callback to Frozen Bond? Where she reaches to her to Puck and says, "I believe that families should stick together." Did you catch that?
No, I didn't.
She puts her hand to her necklace to where Puck is.
Her tits, right?
Yeah, and she said families should be together. And for anybody who hasn't seen Frozen Bond, which is a fucking amazing,
I saw it a little while ago, so
it's amazing and fucking goated. There's a little hint to Amelia's backstory that implies that she left her family behind, and her goal as like the ruler of the country is to get them back. Mm-hmm. And that's her desire. That's why she's doing all of this. So there's that thing, but also because Puck calls Amelia her daughter, because Amelia believes Puck to be her dad, because he basically raised her. Mm-hmm. And there's that whole, and then the entire part of Frozen Bond is entirely about you know trying to be together with your family, with the ones that you love and shit. And that's why like a lot of like that's why it's interesting that like also Puck's gone. This is going to be gone this entire. I think he's going to be gone like this entire season.
Well, because again, like and to even look more into this, right? Puck is gone. He's the only one that Amelia relies on, because she, if she believes him as family who should stick together, then that doesn't, that's what she wants, is to only rely on certain people. And I could even see her having to rely on all these townspeople to break past the trial, as opposed to just herself. Whereas, like, you have, so she's being selfish and only wanting to rely on them, but Puck's already noped out of this arc, and he's told Subaru that he wants to leave Subaru in Amelia's care, and I think that, like, that's also going to play into is the idea that Puck's not there, and so Amelia can't rely on Puck to help her at all. And, if you want to look even more into it, she left her family with, and now she's with Puck, and she's looking back on her past the same way that now we're seeing Subaru has to look back on his past with his family.
Okay, the fucking cliffhanger at the end of the episode,
dude, with his Giga Chad dad. Dude.
Oh my god!
How the fuck is this show like this, right? Like, how the fuck does it have the audacity, right?
Because I don't know about y'all, but whenever I see like some character who's like this hikikomori, like I expect their family to kind of be the reason for that. And maybe we'll see that like Subaru's parents are maybe more toxic than they seem on the surface.
Yeah, like maybe his like cheeriness like kind of forced this expectation on Subaru that he didn't feel like he could meet, so he never tried. Like something like that. It could easily be possible, yeah.
But I could also see it being something, especially after just what we saw of him, where like Subaru had like this ideal perfect family where like sure they weren't perfect, right? Like, maybe his dad's a little too much. But his parents tried hard, and Subaru was the one who was, just like we've already seen in the show, people try hard to be there for him, and he just pushes them away because he doesn't want to actually change, because like I've seen less than a minute of his dad, and I'm already about to say he's like the second biggest Chad this episode after Garfield, like
Garfield lasagna.
Shut up.
This season's got Garfield and Knuckles the Echidna. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, I want to fuck Knuckles the Echidna. What?
All right, well, you need to calm down.
I want to
but,
drink
like,
your tea.
you know what I mean? Like, his dad looks so great and so loving and warm that, like, I'm curious to see what hang-up Subaru has with his past, because it could either be his fault or his family's, and I'm really curious which direction the series takes with it. because I think either would make a lot of sense.
It could be nuance and kind of be both.
Well, you know what? I would not put it past ReZero to have nuance and be good.
You know what, Vindy? I'm not allowed to say anything about it because I used to not
you're
like
stupid.
it. I used to not like it. Therefore, anything positive I say about the show means I have to get out of here because I used to not like it, and that means I still don't like it. That's how that works.
You should rewatch Code Geass. That's a good show.
Rewatch it for the second time so I could hate it more? Yeah.
Can't wait to watch it for the Weeb Club and just do a 3-hour long podcast about how terrible Code Geass is.
Code Geass is good because funny, you know, be the evil for the world, villainize yourself, even though the show is also funny high school. Funny cat run away with my terrorist mask. Funny kill the Japanese.
As much as I do. What else do we have to say? Because, like, we haven't even mentioned Garfield yet.
Where he just beats the shit. Look, I saw a tweet by somebody that said, like, Garfield's line where he's like, I thought about it, I don't know, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you for now. And they were like, this is literally just everybody on Twitter. And I'm, yeah, you know?
Well, I love him already. He's a Chad. He's voiced by Bakugo, who's a Chad. He's fucking... The moment where, like... I loved the moment where Subaru was, like, inconsiderate. Because, like, Subaru, again, just to reiterate what we said last... He's so good this season already. He's so refreshing with how much he's already grown as a person. Where, like, he even is, like... You know, you get a hint of his own Subaru where he tells Garfield, he's like, why don't you just do the trial? And Garfield's like, dude, if I could, I would. And you could see, like, Subaru's instant, like, oh, wait, I'm sorry, like, I didn't mean to... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Subaru's instantly goes to this level of, like, oh, shit, like, I'm sorry. It's great. I'm really excited to see Garfield become a fucking Chad throughout the season as well.
So one last thing I want to say basically is like, basically the setup going forward is really good. Like, obviously this is going to be like a loop situation, you know, he's going to be dying more. But, I also, cause what I realized is, you know, going back to the selfishness thing, you know, I kind of was like, Amelia died like immediately, like she started, right. So, which is, you know, both for attention, but also, like, Subaru is going to have reason, because, like, you know, Amelia's taking it on herself, but Subaru now has reason to take it on himself, because, obviously, like, you know, he probably would anyway, but now it's like, okay, Amelia died immediately, but I can die infinite times, so, like, yeah, he's gonna try and, yeah, so, like, I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. No, and I would love to see he tries to do it all on himself, right? And he's like, okay, I know I can do this, let me do it first, and then it turns out he might get to the end, but he still can't save everyone if he does it himself. So then now he has to work with Amelia, and maybe they have to go through it together.
Yes,
you know, would be really cool. I assume what you were.
Yeah, no, that's pretty what I was getting to. But I was just mostly noting that Amelia dying really quickly would feed into Subaru's taking the course of action that I imagine he will.
Right. Okay.
You know, there's also the interesting thing that happened with Ram, where the moment Subaru sees her, and he's so, like it hurts, because he's like, I just found it really weird that she didn't say anything about Rem.
Right, because she doesn't remember, and so she didn't say anything about Rem, even though, because what I think is also interesting about that is, like, Ram does, like, because that was originally what I was thinking when I was watching the first few episodes, is like, what would Ram's reaction be if she saw Rem, and saw, like, oh, I have a sister? But Ram doesn't see Rem because Rem is, you know, back at the castle. So Ram has no idea that Rem even exists right now, which is insane.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also the fact that fucking, like, there's ties between, how am I forgetting his name right now? I'm actually...
Garfield and Frederick.
No, Roswell.
Yes.
Oh, Roswell.
And
okay.
the Witch of Greed, right?
Yeah, and he says, like, don't call her the Witch of Greed. That's a little rude, don't you think? Call her Echidna.
Yeah, well, he even says, like, that, like, the Witch of Greed... It's not even that it's rude. He said something about, like, it's, like, an evil name that doesn't symbolize who she is. Which is, like, showing that Roswell thinks of Echidna as, like, this... Something more than just, like, the way he would have seen, like... Beetlejuice or you know, any other of the major witches, where she's like actually a she's a person who he has like this personal connection with, and it isn't just
and also
an evil
like
figure.
I mean, in general, like when we first heard about, you know, Sato the Witch of Envy, like you know, witch is like itself is like a dirty word, but basically, like, yeah, the other witches don't seem to be great, but Satala like demonized it to another level. So even just calling Echidna a witch is like, well, she's, you know, she might have had her, you know, issues and flaws and done bad things like some of the other witches, but she's not Satala. Like that, she's just like on another fucking level. So yeah, so that's what I was kind of considering. Yeah, but
yeah. I did want to mention now that Roswell's finally brought up. I wanted to mention this last time, but we didn't see Roswell, so I couldn't. I fucking love his voice acting. The way he says everything is so fucking funny to me. Like, I don't know what it is, but the way he like always he like like on every word.
Yeah, no, he does like it's like Asta, but instead of screaming, he just like elongates the vowel sounds. So he talks like
and he
this.
does like he elongates them. Yeah, like but he does like the for like every sound, and it's so fucking funny. I can't get enough of it. Because it's just so great every time I hear it. That I was happy to hear him talk for a while this episode. I was like, let's fucking go.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, good
you know
episode.
What I just realized?
I was about to say, oh, are we almost done? But no.
I have one more thing to say after what's.
I was just saying, you know what I just realized? Yeah, this is gonna come up in the. This is about the Oregairu. Oregairu was only short last time because Crafts haven't seen the second episode.
And now I've seen all three, so we're good.
Yeah, that's probably why it was shorter. But go ahead.
I was gonna say the last thing I want to mention for ReZero is that I fucking loved when Subaru finally like met with the townspeople, and it became this like they were calling him Subaru-sama, and we're like super big on Subaru because he saved them. I loved seeing like the way that now that he's finally seeing a lot of them again, they have this like appreciation for Subaru kind of. And he's starting to become, because like that's something that we've already seen, you know, with the way that the last season ended, and we see this with other characters. You know, like we saw it with Crush this season. As Subaru gets better, he turns more and more people over to the Subaru camp, which is eventually the Amelia camp, right? Because he follows her and what he wants her to succeed, and he's turning more and more people over with how he is, and I really like to see that. Like Subaru being someone that's leading people as opposed to because it's him finally being like her knight, right? Or if you even want to look at it like her king in a sense, where he's leading people and making people want to follow him as opposed to just kind of being there.
Yeah.
I would drink Echidna's tea.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you would drink Amelia's. Well, I wanted to you were
why
talking about
not
how
both?
Amelia is your best girl now, so I wanted to hear that, and you didn't go into it.
Well, look. Listen, I cried for most of Frozen Bond, and then getting that reminder of Frozen Bond again this episode was like, oh, is it cry time once again? Oh, yes, please.
So you're deep in the Amelia camp where she's your favorite right now?
Well, it's kind of like now, it's kind of one of those cases where Amelia's my favorite girl, but then also, like, you know, there's other things tied to that. Like the fact that, you know, Subaru's also really good, and Ren's also really good.
I would say Subaru's unrivaled the best character in the series.
Subaru's best girl, yes.
But is he a lolly that I can pick up?
Okay, well, he doesn't need to be, because he
can be.
All right, that's all really I have to say for ReZero, other than that it's...
Where's
Tino...
Felt? Where's Felt? Where's
Calm
Felt?
down.
And you know what I heard, right? I heard that later on, right? Like one of the biggest like character relationship regressions of all time is when she calls fucking what's his name again?
Reinhardt.
She calls Reinhardt by name at one point, he goes, "Wow, you're calling me by name instead of you? That's such." You finally come to like me. And he's such a fucking bottom. And it's like, holy shit. He wants a lolly mommy to step on him. It's kind of weird.
All right, let's move on to Oregairu.
Yeah, 'cause that's your girlfriend's the last show.
Play the OP.
I'm so fucking happy this show's back. I forget how much I love Hachime. Like, because my thing with Hachime, right, is I don't idolize the way
right
he is.
all along. He
did he's clearly
nothing wrong.
Right? But his interactions are just so funny, and he's so hilarious all the time.
No.
Like, I forgot how much I love his interactions with Iroha.
No,
You know what I mean?
here's the thing
He's
that I
just
love
great.
about
I always love the gag where she like twists anything. Like half the time it's shit she says where like you must be hitting on me. Like with this one,
Right,
it
and then
was
she
the-
always goes, "I'm sorry." Like
yeah,
I
yeah. Well,
I
yeah,
can't-
with this one, it's like, oh, you must think of me as a little sister because eventually when I say that you don't think of me as a little sister, you must be trying to hit on me. Like, and then he's like, shut the fuck up. And then
He's
she
like,
says, but I'm
"No."
not your little sister though. And it's like, wow.
Oh.
This episode also had goated Hachiman being gay as fuck for Totsuka and even asking about on a date, and Totsuka's like, "I'm sorry, I'm so busy," and he's like, while like Giga blushing, he's like, "It's okay, whenever you want to hang out, we can hang out." Like that's like he's saying like cuck shit to Totsuka. I fucking love it, dude.
Look,
My
okay,
MC.
here's the biggest thing I'm taking away from the season, and that I think should be noticed by everybody, is that Hachiman is acting completely differently than he is in the past 2 seasons.
I
Yeah,
agree.
but that doesn't make sense because he was rewarded for those
was
actions. So
rewarded
why
for
would he
his
change?
actions.
Why would he change and become a better person and not a stupid child who is being mocked by the show itself? Obviously,
It was so listen, the end this episode ended with something like usually he would be bitching and moaning about this event.
No.
But this way this episode ends is that he looks at this, he's like,
I'm gonna
wow,
go
I
off.
get the appeal of it. And then he just goes, this isn't for me. And it's
But
like,
he's still wrong. But he's still wrong, and that's what I love about it. Sorry,
but he's smiling, he's laughing about it, and he's obviously enjoying himself. But it's the fact that like he's like softening up to everybody. He's really
Right.
he's like really considerate now. He's like talking, like, even though he's still being edgy and shit, he's like super considerate now towards a lot of people. And he's like changing and showing improvements, and it's like, whoa, like how does nobody catch on to this? How does Daniel was DMing me, was like messaging me in like my server's mod chat, and he was asking me because he's watching Oregairu, and like he was talking about how like this show is obviously never rewarding Hachiman for his actions. They shit on him in every single episode. The girls call him a fucking weirdo, and it just keeps making fun of him. How does anybody ever see the show rewarding him for his actions, quote unquote?
right.
yeah,
I
no.
can't believe Daniel's fucking
Look,
smart.
yeah,
Holy shit.
no, because again, I watched it recently, and my first thing, like, immediate was like, wow, Hachiman is a stupid child, and the only people who probably don't think that probably think the same way, and maybe don't like Hachiman because they see him themselves in him, and also are self-hating, so they're just, like, projecting that onto him. Oh, no, that's, like, a full psychoanalytical reading, but, like, am I wrong?
It's just interesting, right, to think about? Interesting to think about?
Yeah, well, I think there's that. I also think it's like there's a lot going on there. Like, for example, to bring up the scene at the end of him saying that, like, I get this, the appeal is just not for me. Again, I think that part of it's going to eventually be that he realizes that, like, that's what he wants.
But he
He
smiles
wants it to be
about
for
it.
him.
Did you
And
see him smile
no,
about it?
I did see him smile about it, but that's what I want. I want him to reach this point where he, like, that, because I popped off at the end of this episode because I'm like, he's so close. He's so fucking close because he gets the appeal, but he still thinks he's different. And that's the change I think the season's going to be, is like, now he understands people. He just has to understand that he's not this lizard man who's above everyone. He is them, you know?
No,
And
look, okay, so...
he's so close, and that's why I love It's the Prom, and that's why I loved it in this episode. We had him say that, you know, whatever, it's not for him, because the climax of this season and the series is going to be this prom, and that's going to be when he realizes that, no, wait, this prom, and in a larger sense, relationships with people are for me. That is what I want. It's not just to be someone who is ostracized from society. You know?
Vindy.
Yes, sir.
So one of the things that like made me fucking pop off is when the one dude, the fuck boy, like is like,
Oh
telling
my
Hachi
God.
how to feel, like,
Oh my
to
God,
feel
when he
it,
comes
feel the
over to
music.
him?
But like, cause he would never do that before. That man would never do that shit before. And
What
it's
I
like-
loved about it was that, like, he wasn't making fun of Hachiman. He was legitimately being a nice guy trying to help someone.
and
You know what I
Hachi-
mean?
And Hachiman
Like,
wasn't even being a dick about it like he usually would. He was just kind of
yeah,
like weird
he was
about
like,
it.
all right, I'll try. Like, he was awkward. Like, Hachiman was awkward about it. But, like, they both had, like, this friendly interaction where, like, one guy who got it was trying to help someone who didn't. And the guy who didn't get it, instead of even thinking, like, oh, he's just making fun of me, was like, all right, I'll try it, you know?
It was so good because then there's a scene where they're dancing and everything, and it's just. Okay, so Craftsdwarf,
Me,
you
Craftsdwarf.
saw episode 2 now.
Yes.
Can I talk about the goated shit that happened at the end of episode 2?
Oh my God, when she looks at the picture.
Oh,
You know, because
yeah.
she says, I don't want something. I don't want the real thing because the real thing's gonna ruin their relationship. She views it as, right? Like,
so it's Onodera kind of thing where she wants things as they are and she doesn't want to ruin what they have. So
like the fact that she looked because she sees the picture. Like, that was like the build up for that scene because it's been hinting at it this entire time. Like at the end of season 2, when they were talking, like in the last episode, Yui was like really upset. She was like she's like, I don't understand why we have to do this. Why we have to be like do all this stuff. Like, why can't we just be like we always have been? And they were just looking and listening to each other. But then there was hints, right, that Yukino likes Hachiman. There's hints. Like, it's never blatant with it. But then the moment that Yui reaches, sees the picture behind the panda that he got for the fact that the panda's on her bed, like in the center,
and
all
the
the
other
time.
Ones are on her desk. Yeah, I noticed that.
And like the one that he got for her, and then she sees the picture behind it, and she's like, and Yui's like, I always knew what was gonna happen if we finally opened up, and I never wanted the real thing, and it's like, no.
And that kind of confirms the Yukino end, because I was gonna make a joke about the OP when Yui and Yukino are dancing together. I'm like, yeah, Yuri end, incel end.
God, that would be so fucking epic, dude. You know?
But yeah, that definitely seems the way it's going. And then obviously with the look, it's the last season of the show. The opening focuses on Yukino. Haruno had notable presence last episode, especially the whole conflict. Come on, yeah, it seems kind of clear. They're just gonna do all this Yukino stuff, but yeah, okay.
But the way it's doing it though is really fucking.
No, it is still really good. Yui's very good, but it's just
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was telling. Look, I'm not gonna complain that Yukino wins because I think Yukino winning, in quotes, has been the obvious course of action the entire show, right? Because as far as her, she is the most similar and different from Hachiman in a lot of ways. But again, I mentioned this last week. Yukino doesn't fit my personal tastes as much.
Yeah, no,
so...
it's basically, which is
I
actually
give her a personal taste, you know what I'm saying?
It's funny that I brought up Nisekoi earlier because you have you have what has with Nisekoi, because what's favorite girl is Onodera, but she doesn't win, and your favorite girl is Yui, but it doesn't look like.
Well, it might be Iraha now, dude. I
it's
forgot
not Yukino.
how
It's
much
not
I love.
Yukino.
Right,
Sorry,
right,
that's what I meant.
Yeah,
I should have said, but
Right, and so that is true. It is the opposite. But again, the same way that I don't hate, or that what doesn't hate Nisekoi because she told you I don't hate Oregairu because my favorite didn't win.
We're not brain dead, exactly.
Right, I'm not a fucking child.
No, but ReZero was bad because
honestly, it's better if the girl I don't
won. Goku.
It's better if the girl I like
Can
doesn't
Hachiman
win.
beat Goku though?
No, Hachiman should end up with Totsuka, but it's better if the girl I like doesn't win because that means that I can console her when she's sad.
Gay end? Gay end?
Do you know how goated that would be if it ended with him and Totsuka getting together?
Okay, can I talk about something fucking hilarious that happened in this episode, in episode 3? This his little sister was got the thing, and then
was it the fact that Totsuka followed him?
No,
I thought it was that she cried more for
little
Yui.
Brother,
oh, okay.
No, that Saki's little brother comes over and he's like, "I'm gonna fucking throw you in there, bitch. Don't fucking come."
Oh my god! Are you gonna German suplex me?
Don't fucking call me big brother. What the fuck are you doing here? Hello?
He's so funny. Look, when Hachiman starts talking really fast, it says a bunch of things all at once. And yeah, I also loved when she was crying harder with Yui. He's like, why was she crying harder with Yui? What does that mean, huh? What's going on with that interaction? That's what this episode reminded me more than the other two, which I think were a little bit more maybe serious, is how great I think Hachiman's interactions. There was hot teacher who was like, everyone's so busy while she's smoking. She's like, it's a short break, I promise. And then she's like, don't tell anyone I'm smoking, haha. And does the peace sign and gives him a drink, and I'm like,
did you hear what she said though at the end? Did you hear what she said? She was like, you're not supposed to mess up the nest before the birds leave, before they leave, or that's the saying, because she's gonna, and
man.
God, this show. Look, the fact that this what was really interesting is that this time Hachiman was just before he would just judge the thing before even saying that he didn't understand it. But this time when he's talking about the problem, he's like,
right,
I just don't get what it is.
Well, I think he even, if he wanted to be deep, and I haven't seen episode 1 in years, So y'all maybe, but I'm pretty sure the entire opening monologue of season 1 is him talking about how he doesn't get the appeal of other people. He doesn't get it.
No,
he
like
thinks that it's stupid.
He says that he's like, I understand how these people really are, so I don't get the appeal. But now that he actually knows how they really are, now he's realizing that he just doesn't get it. And he's like,
or he does get it, right? And I can't wait for him to come to this realization that I think the show is ultimately heading towards. Of not only does he get it, he realizes he wants to be a part of it.
Because there was also the thing in episode 2 where Haruno looks at him and says like, you can't be drunk, you can't get drunk.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Which, oh god, because that was just like a whole. Because like that was the thing she was talking about. Like she's like talking about like no matter how much I try to, no matter how much I drink, I just can't seem to get drunk. Right? I don't even know if the emotions that I'm feeling are my own. Me. I can't even. I don't even know if what I'm feeling when I'm smiling or being like how you're saying I really am, are me, right? And she says to fucking Hachiman, who's learning now to understand how people are, that right now you're like me, right? You're not sure if you're even experiencing genuine things right now, but that's gonna change, and that's why Yukino end is obvious, because now it's tying into that whole thing. Because the fact that it's Hachiman that's involved and like the older sister's heavily implying that they're kind of the same is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. So yeah.
Yeah, this season for having 2 shows that I'm like inches away from.
We are actually talking about we've talked more about the anime this episode than we probably did on average for any episode of like the previous Weeb Club seasons.
What are we supposed to do when we literally have we have God of Highschool, which maybe this will change as we get farther into it, but it's so bad that like I want to talk about how bad it is, right? Then we have Oregairu and Re, which are both easy top 5 this year.
We want to talk how good they are. Yeah.
I think no matter what this year shows we watch in backlogs or whatever, I don't see ReZero and Oregairu not ending in at least top 5. Probably both.
Actually, I just thought of it because what was talking about ranking the EWB videos, but maybe we should also rank just what we watched on the Weeb Club this year. So only the seasonals and backlogs, basically.
Yeah, we should start doing a
like
an end of the year awards. Yeah, like on New Year, like at the end of the year, we do like
maybe,
a Weeb Club awards.
We'll talk about it. That was just an idea that just came to me, so I thought I'd throw it out there. But anyway, how much more do we have to say on this one?
Well, yeah, no, not much. I was just gonna say, like, it's interesting because, like, this season, and then Rent a Girlfriend, I think, is really interesting. I want to talk way more about this.
That's the one I have the least to say about. Cause,
I have a lot to say about it because I'm fucking pissed.
You can go ahead because I just. We'll get to that.
Fucking slut.
Look, listen. The fact that I am crying consistently with 2 shows this season, 3 technically because I'm watching SA Alicization. Well, Alicization's a whole other thing.
Look, by the way, I wanted to say this. I caught up to Decadence after the most recent Weeb Club. If you're watching this and you have not watched Decadence, you should fucking watch it because it's really fucking good.
Cool.
It's about humanity.
Oh.
I'm leaving the human community, though, Vindy.
Oh, okay.
Sad.
All right. It's time for...
Play the OP for decent, cute show.
Cuckery.
Oh, yeah, that's a better way to put it.
All right, now that the opening's played, get this bitch on the streets. The streets call.
Okay, wait.
The streets call. Come get your bitch.
Do you want to talk about the show first, or can I pop off a little bit about how much I hate this?
Just pop off.
Come and get their bitch.
This fucking bitch, Nanami Mami. I don't care how fucking whatever her name is.
Dirty street slut.
Human fucking dude. Okay, look. Okay, well, not only her, main boy is also a fucking cuck bitch. Okay, first of all. The fact that she's, like, actually causing this many problems for what she perceives to be a new couple when she broke up with this guy is already fucked, okay? But then the fact that she has the gall to ask this guy that she already broke up with to go back to her place with her is so insanely fucked up. I actually, like, there's, like, some fucking... in my fucking brain when I think about it, because that is so fucked. And the main character should have some goddamn fucking self-respect and tell this bitch no. And I know he's not going to, because he's a goddamn cuck piece of shit. And he's... God! The only good character in this show right now. is fucking Chizuru. And that's not just because she's the hottest. That's because she has fucking self-respect. And in episode 2, she was shown, she fucking pretended to be fucking Kazuya's fucking girlfriend because she was like, wow, he's being a Chad, and I kind of like that, and I don't want his grandma to be sad, and I don't want his grandma to be mean to him. And then she fucking stuck up for him. This fucking Giga Chad, who's not even dating this guy, when she realizes his ex is being a piece of shit to him, sticks up for him and stands up for the guy. And he still takes his fucking ex-girlfriend's side when there's literally a cuter, hotter fucking girl right there fucking sticking up for him. Just...
So, Vindy, here's
Holy
my thing,
shit.
right? Here's my thing, right? I, on a base level, just cannot relate to this cuck son of a bitch. like with last season, fucking yesterday wa utate. I could relate to Rikuo. Rikuo, like, isn't just like, I can relate to that guy because, you know, everything he's saying, you know, is reasonable. You know, it's just what all of us go through. This bitch, like, you know me, you know how I am. If that shit happened to me, it would be like a good 10 minutes before I either leave or I tell them to fuck off and like just start yell at them until they stop.
That's
like,
the thing. Is I've been in almost this exact situation. It's a little different because it wasn't with a girl. Like, I didn't have another girl that I was pretending to date, but I have had a girl that I have been dating that has broken up with me, that has asked me to get back together with her. And I had the fucking self-respect to tell her no and say, no, you treated me like shit. Fuck you. Like, you broke up with me.
You would think most people would have that self-respect. Like, but
this man needs that. Well, not everyone does, right? People get back together in relationships all the time, but he should have self-respect. And the fact that he doesn't is like, I can't wait for him to get it and then have sex with the cute girl.
Well, apparently,
he's basically this giant like, he's just permaversion. He just like some part of him just wants his dick wet, but he's also a fuckboy. Right. So
when an ugly girl tells you to get back together with her, you say no and you fuck a cuter girl instead. Life advice from me.
Like, here's the thing that makes me upset, right? Is that Chizuru, like, just kind of, like... Here's one thing, right? It's one thing if it's, like, you know... If she's pretending to do this, right, as part of, like, you know, just... If the pretending to date things isn't, like... bound by contract and is actually, like, a thing just she has, like, legal obligations for, right? It's like... I'm watching this, and it's just kind of, like... You're like, actually putting her livelihood on the line for this, just because you're pitiful... and shit like that, and it's making me actually upset.
Here's the thing, is like, the show's making me upset. I think it's supposed to. Like, I'm not going to say that the show's bad for it, because obviously the only character who's even kind of right now is the main girl, right? Like, main guy is not supposed to be right. He's supposed to be wrong. So I'm okay with the fact that I'm mad at him, and I'm okay with the fact that I hate his bitch ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, she's, like... They're trying to make her hateable on every level possible, basically. Like, she's
right.
Like,
so I'm not going to get upset that I hate it,
right.
because that's what I'm supposed to feel. So it's if anything, it's good that the show's making me this fucking...
It's doing its job, right?
Yeah. It's just, God, I was so mad watching this shit. I was oh my God.
See, after Vindy went off, I'm like, well, I don't have that much else to say. I have something to say, but not much.
Because that's my thing, right? So, like, beyond that, I already know what the show's trying to do. It's just, for me, like just watching every single episode, and I'm just kind of like, I get it, but I also just find myself not caring as much because I just, like,
I wonder how much of that is that you're watching two shows that just, like, are not even... Because, like, I would say Rent-A-Girlfriend is, like, a 7 right now. Maybe an 8 if it gets really good. But we're watching 2 9, maybe 10s that are both, like, the romance is a prominent aspect of those shows.
Well,
so, like, I can't even get too into, like, Rent-A-Girlfriend's so good. Because, like, also then I have Oregairu and Re Zero where I'm like...
because, I don't know.
Let's fucking go!
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's just because, like, I don't know. I just don't, like, I don't vibe with it as hard as... Because maybe it's another case of me being influenced by the community. But every time I see someone pretend like that, like, Rent-A-Girlfriend is, like, this goated, like, one of the greatest things of all time, I'm just sitting here like, it's okay. Like, I don't...
I mean, it's definitely not the best. I'm watching 3 better shows this season. And I can imagine that
10 other better harem series, so, like...
Yeah, so, I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually really entertaining. Like, again, I would give it, like, probably an 8. maybe it's enjoyable. I don't think it's the best thing ever.
I feel like Craftsdwarf watching every other season.
What? Oh, yeah. Where's the
Where I
line?
get it, I just don't care.
Yeah, it's fine. The only other thing I had to say is I like the part where, the two guys were talking, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, she probably doesn't even move in bed." And then I thought about last episode when they were in bed and she couldn't move, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong."
I'm gonna get up now. I'm gonna just walk out of the room real quick. That was a little weird. I'm gonna get up.
I'm referring to things that happened in the show. I'm sorry that you couldn't watch the episode because it was too weird for you, apparently. Okay, we're done. It sounds like. Thank you for listening.
No, we have to talk about trash talk because what said we do it at the end of the episode, and we did promise people we'd talk about it. And like, here's the first thing I'll say before What's Back. There is
trash
more
talk
content.
have an OP?
No. There's more
Okay.
content
I was
about
gonna say
the
play
trash
the
talk
OP.
episode that includes
Play the OP.
What and me and some other people that you might probably know that will
Coming
come
on
out
my
at some
channel.
point. Yeah, that's coming out on What's channel. But if we want to talk about it here,
Well, we just
I
give
mean-
our preemptive thoughts because it's like right
Yeah.
now I don't have like concrete thoughts on what I want to say about it, but basically here's the way I view the whole situation. A lot of what they say is indisputably correct. A lot of smaller anitubers are terrible at marketing their videos and also are just too prideful to do the things that get your videos noticed, right?
right, they don't want to do clickbait. It's seen as, and I think that a larger part of it is YouTube in general is seen as like bad to do clickbait, right? Like, don't do clickbait titles or thumbnails. You have to do clickbait titles or thumbnails if you
Even
want to
though,
like
like,
actually
all-
succeed on the platform.
Everybody does it at some level. Like even clickbait as like a thing is so like such like a contentious topic of like what defines that it's just kind of like whatever. Like who even like if your pride extends to you not wanting to clickbait and you're writing off a video just because it has clickbait, then I'm sorry, you're brain dead. Like that's just the truth. Another thing is that, and while I don't necessarily agree entirely with this, there are maybe some AniTubers who make videos in order to be superior than other YouTubers. You know, I've seen certain people try to say that I hope in down the line, eventually when history's continued and when the dust has settled and Red Letter Media's filthy name is removed from the internet, my Star Wars videos will be the ones that everybody quotes. Well, like, so there's people like that. There are people like that. But here's the thing. You would expect Garnt, who goes to AniTuber meetups all the time. He's been to every single one that I've like been to at AX, and has been to every single one before that, and meets all the smaller AniTubers.
Who is this? I'm sorry.
Giguk.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you used his real name, so I
Like, you would
Got
expect him to know that. The Anime Man less so, because every time they hold an AniTuber meetup, he like runs away and doesn't
Right.
show up. I think Sea-Dog came early to the one that I made.
Mhm.
And then he wasn't there for the rest of it. So like, it's like you would think that he knows. Even more interesting is that two other smaller AniTubers also edits for Sea-Dog and talk to him frequently. So you would think he would know that, and you would think they would know that. But suspiciously, they sort of defended him. They sort of defended their takes on the Trash Taste podcast, which is
I think the biggest thing I can say is, and I'm sure, and so here's the thing is, I personally took no offense to what they were saying, because I've been making content for, at most, like, that I would say I would call like serious content on YouTube that I'm actually trying to make good, at most 7 months now, right? I'm still trying to find myself as a content creator and find what I want to do, so I'm not too, like I wasn't upset by anything like, I didn't feel like I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, I'm not on their radar at all, right? They're not talking about me when they talk about small YouTubers. I'm too small. You know what I mean? But I still think that, like, you know, I because of y'all two, I've come into contact with a lot of small YouTubers, and none of them, and I know of YouTubers, you know, that think that they're better than everyone on YouTube, right? And they care, so that makes them better than other people. And, you know, they'll say some heinous shit that maybe makes someone make a video that has 10K views and is their most viewed video by far, but we're not talking about that. But like most of the small AniTubers I talk to care about their content and don't just make their content. The thing that really got me was the line about that AniTubers make content for other AniTubers, because I don't think that's true. I think that you can look at it as maybe the anime community has flaws, and AniTube has flaws, but I think the AniTube flaws are flaws that stretch out into the larger space of the anime community as a whole, and they're the same flaws. And I think that like saying that, oh well, no one else at AniTube does tier lists, that's not true.
No, that's just
and saying that like people only make content for other AniTubers. Sure, there are some AniTubers that only want to be recognized by other AniTubers, but I think a majority of people that make content, I know at least as someone who makes content, and I'm sure y'all two are the same way. I care the same if a YouTuber tells me my content's good as if I have a random person comment and tell me that they liked my video or leave a like. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me who likes what I put out, but that someone is watching and somebody likes what I'm doing.
Well,
you know what I mean? And that's what keeps me making content, and I think that I would say it's probably the same for y'all, right?
Well, put it this way, Vindy. I don't make my Love Live videos for other Love Live fans. I sort of made it to begin with in spite of them, because I made it because I don't agree with 90% of what they say, so I'm gonna make something that has what I say. In fact, I didn't expect the Love Live community to react to how they do now, which now I'm being called the motherfucking keeper of the Love Live lore and shit. That was not the intention. The intention was to do the things because I thought they were stupid. So
right.
Here's something though. You're a little wrong that certain smaller AniTubers don't do things, because I know that there is a certain community that has said they make their videos for other friends to jack them off. Be like, yes, I agree.
No, I know that there are. Sorry, I didn't want to say that there aren't anyone, but that I've talked to a lot of AniTubers who.
No, but the mass majority of them don't. Yeah.
That was my point. I'm not saying that no one does, because obviously some do. But I think that when you say small AniTubers and you make this blanket statement about all of them, you're not only, I think, saying something, you're putting the entire community that when you have the Anime Man, Giguk, and Sea-Dog as, on this podcast, they are three of the largest people in a community that a lot of people want to be a part of. There are a lot of fucking AniTubers, and there are a lot of people that you could be and sure, okay, we could talk about how they praise Scamboli, even though none of us like his content, but outside of that, I think that it's a bigger issue where when you're putting down the entire community outside of y'all and a few specific people, you're, basically saying, oh yeah, you don't need to experiment, you don't need to watch other creators.
You just need to be like
instead
us,
of, yeah, name creators that you think are doing good things, or say that maybe content's not for you, but you can see why it's enjoyable, and spread positivity in the community as three of the biggest fucking figureheads in it. Spread a good message as opposed to just shit talking them all and saying they need to be good.
Here's something that's interesting, right? And I'll let Craftsdwarf talk after this, because we're kind of talking nonstop.
Oh, I don't care. Don't worry.
Okay. So it's one thing, right, to be to say those things, but here's the thing. Giguk is just factually has been influenced by demo. His content has been factually just influenced by demo. You can see it, especially if you draw parallels to their content as this time goes on. Giguk also has made analytical videos of his own in the past, and has sort of been changed by the way analytical content shifted as time went on. The Anime Man himself also admits that he also made analytical content as well. All three of them at some point decided to become more akin to what I call anime PewDiePie, where there's that style of content where they're being influenced by somebody else. The fact that they it's not even one thing that they praise Scamboli, quote unquote. It's the fact that Scamboli is literally influenced by demo. You can tell by the way his videos are structured and the way they're executed. If you don't even want to argue that, there's a lot of creators that are of that typical style that already existed before Scamboli.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the fact that they say that is really only just because of one reason, is because he's big.
Yeah, well, and look, I mean, anyone who gets big, I think there are reasons for it. I think that's something even we talk about on the Weeb Club, is that things that are popular probably have a reason they're popular. You know, even if maybe we don't like it, there's a reason there that people can attach themselves to it. And I think that if you want to go into this analytical side of AniTube, yeah, it's like it probably is a smaller portion of the larger anime demographic that are going to care about very analytical, serious breakdown of anime. But that exists in the gaming community, right? Look at the difference in subs and views of someone like Donkey to Matthew Matosis, you know? Whereas personally, I would say I think Matthew Matosis is a better content creator. Donkey has more subs, more people talk about him, right? And I think that you could even look at that in terms of like, you know, with like y'all, like, you know, you and Craftsdwarf and Scamboli, you know, is that kind of comparison. And I think that, you know, that exists. And just because he makes a different type of content, but even on top of that, there is not a single fucking, okay, there are YouTubers, but they all started in like 2005, 2006. Any YouTuber now is going to be quote unquote derivative of another YouTuber because everyone has their inspirations for why they make content. You know, even look at some of the most popular channels in you know, even just like, for example, video games, right? Over time, right? Like you can look at like Jontron or Egoraptor or you know, there's a bunch that were all inspired by the Angry Video Game Nerd, you know? And he had things he was inspired by. Like, everyone is inspired to make content by something else. So the idea that, you know, for a lot of people in YouTube, that was fucking demo. So, of course, a lot of them are going to feel like they, on some level, want to be demo. But that's not a bad thing. What matters is that they put their own spin on it. But you can't just say, oh, well, they want to be demo. Because, yes, if he's the reason they got into making content, or, you know, Digi is another one for people, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, Giguk and the Anime Man are inspirations for other people. If someone inspires someone to start making content, it's not bad that they take what they liked of that content and then try to add their own spin on it. You know, that's how it works.
Look, that's why I find it
part
ironic,
of the fucking
right?
game.
That they said that, because all three of them are inherently derivative of somebody else, and it's so easy to figure out who it is. But the fact that they're like criticizing it is, it's like, the way I worded it was like, it's either tone deaf or it's just it's either tone deaf, poorly worded, or they're just or super not self-aware of what they're saying. It's like, it's just, there's just all kinds of things about it, because there's a point to be made with everything that they said, but everything that they said was just worded in the worst possible way that they could.
Right.
And it's just, and you know,
well, I would completely agree with even I think what part of their idea was, which was like that there definitely is this very self-entitled mentality in AniTube of like, oh, I should be bigger. I make better content.
Oh yeah,
than
no,
the
that's
bigger
definitely
guys,
a thing.
Or I make better content than the views I get. I should be bigger.
Yeah.
But if you're not growing and you're not finding the success you want,
there's objectively a reason why.
Sometimes it's going to be time and it's going to take you getting your name out there. But a lot of times your content probably isn't as good as you fucking think it is, and you should think about what works, what doesn't, and like actively try to improve your content and yourself is like, you know what I mean? And the fact that people like, that's I think one of the biggest problems. And if that was all they said, I probably wouldn't have any complaints. If they were just talking about the I should be bigger mentality, you know, like I deserve more. Yeah, but views,
then they like started like making it about like a bunch of other things that were just objectively not true, or just the way they were saying it was just objectively not true. Yeah. And it's just like, it's just so weird to me, and it makes them kind of look worse as a result. And it's more so that I've come to realize with them is that like AniTube is just the anime community, but it's like I worded in my gay community, is like, these people don't just exist out of nowhere. They came from the anime community and then decided to make videos. It's not like they came from the spawn of YouTube and YouTube creates a certain type of anime fan. Like, no, they're just anime fans. And they're stupid. And you can see that. You can even see that in the way they talk in their videos, right? You have people like Rika, who are very much the 4chan mentality, and then you have people like Giguk, who are very much like the way they talk about stuff is very similar to the way that Reddit talks about things. And neither way is bad, but you can tell where they're kind of, you know, where they came from. Yeah,
where they came from. Digi is another person who's very 4chan, and Mother's Basement's another person who's very Reddit. You know what I mean? Like, everyone comes from the anime community and from watching stuff on YouTube, and then decides to start making content. So everyone's going to be derivative of where they came from.
It's just such a weird mindset, right? I think there's things to be said about all of it that's just sort of like, I just think that they did not do it the right way. They did a terrible job at trying to say what would technically be correct, but like I feel like somebody pointed this out to me that I thought was pretty funny. Someone pointed out that like I think some of them are kind of just upset that they're consistently put at the bottom of everybody's tier list all the time.
Right.
Because you notice that the one tier list that they linked is like they had them most near the top, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, what you and I have talked about how, you know, for example, Giguk deserves to be one of the most subscribed to channels in AniTube. I think he's good. You know, I think he does a good job. I think he's a really good YouTuber. I think his videos are entertaining. They're watchable. I'm fine with Giguk being one of the larger channels in AniTube. You know,
I just think sometimes it's a bit of a fucking brainlet.
I agree with that too, but I don't think that's all the time. And I think that like it's even fine to not be, you know, the smartest on everything. You know what I mean? Like I don't think everyone has to be gigabrained all the time in their content. Everyone has things they're gigabrained about or small brained about. You have a fucking video that came out recently about how you're small brained about things.
No, you mean
you know?
So small brain? I'm not allowed to be like change my mind.
But I think that like when you're a figurehead of a community, I think that one of the worst, and whether you want to be a figurehead of the community or not, if you are one of the largest voices in the community on a podcast that a lot of the people in the community tune into or will hear about, I think you have to be careful in the ways you talk negatively about people in the community, because it can negatively, you know, we saw this, you know, what, 3-4 years ago when Digi made his video shit talking every fucking AniTuber and people lost their shit. It feels very similar with this, is all I'm going to say.
It's literally the same thing, but now it's like, the difference is Digi was, as time goes on, she was kind of right.
Wow. I'm not going to say that, but...
There's that kind of things she kind of said that.
Right.
Sad.
All right. And on that, now that What is denounced his entire thing that made him popular to begin with, and that if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be a YouTuber.
Love life content. Wait, what?
Love life.
Thank you guys very much for watching this episode of the Seasonal Weeb Club. It was 2 fucking hours long. Again, we hope y'all enjoy.
Of the Kino that we were watching, and also Garbage.
And we'll see y'all.
What a season! It's like we got like the one far end, and then we got the other far end, and then you got one that's kind of in the middle, but leaning towards the good end, I guess. And it's like, yeah. Huh.
And then one right. Thanks, guys.
That's all of them.
I'm turning off.